Welcome to Luxury Stories 24/7, where every story is full of emotions, lessons, and unforgettable moments. Get ready for a journey of love, betrayal, and healing. Let the story begin. Once upon a time, in a small town in Enugu State, there lived a young woman called Madame Sandra. She was not rich. In fact, she struggled to survive. Her house was a small one-room building in a dusty compound. She worked hard every day just to feed herself and pay her rent. She had no husband. The man who got her pregnant ran away before the child was born. So she was alone. One rainy night, Sandra went into labor. It was painful. She screamed and cried, but there was nobody to help her. The neighbors were sleeping, and the rain was too heavy. After many hours, she managed to deliver the baby by herself. It was a boy. She looked at the baby with tired eyes. But as she held him, she noticed something strange. The baby's legs didn't move. They were bent in a way that didn't look normal. Sandra became afraid. "What is this?" she said to herself. "Why are his legs like this?" The baby cried like every other baby. He was alive. He was breathing. But his legs... Sandra waited for a few hours, hoping the legs would become normal. But they didn't. She wrapped him in a piece of cloth and placed him beside her. When morning came, she called an old woman in the compound to help her. The old woman checked the child and said softly, "This child has a disability. He may never walk." Sandra's heart broke. Her face changed. She didn't say a word. From that day, everything changed. Sandra gave the boy a name, Elizonam. But she never called him that with love. She never smiled at him. She never played with him. She only fed him because she had to. To the neighbors, Sandra said, "My baby died at birth." Nobody saw the child. She hid Elizonam in the back of the house. She blocked the window and kept the door locked. Elizonam grew up inside that one room. He never saw the sun. He never played outside. He never went to school. His only friends were the shadows on the wall and the sound of birds flying past the window. But even though he was hidden, Elizonam had a gift. He had a voice, a beautiful voice. One day, when he was about 6 years old, he heard music from the church nearby. The choir was singing, and the sound reached him through the small window. He closed his eyes and began to sing along. His voice was soft but sweet. He didn't know all the words, but he made his own songs. It made him happy. It gave him peace. Sandra heard him singing and shouted, "Will you keep quiet? Stop that noise. Don't let people hear your voice." Elizonam became silent. He was scared. He didn't understand why his mother hated his singing. He didn't understand why she never hugged him. As the years passed, Sandra became more bitter. Feeding Elizonam became a burden. She would complain every day. "See my mates," she would say. "They are enjoying life. But me? I'm stuck with a crippled boy who brings me shame." She never told him he was beautiful. She never celebrated his birthday. She only gave him food and water, and sometimes even forgot. One evening, when Elizonam was about 10 years old, Sandra came home looking very angry. She had been fired from her cleaning job. She had no money left. As she entered the house, she looked at Elizonam, who was sitting on the floor, drawing on a piece of old newspaper and humming a tune. Sandra dropped the food roughly on the floor and said, "I can't do this anymore." Elizonam looked up, confused. "Mummy?" Sandra didn't answer. She just stood by the door and stared at him. "I've tried. I've suffered enough. You don't walk. You don't talk to anybody. You just sit here and sing. What will that do for us?" "Nothing," she shouted. She turned her face away as tears rolled down her cheeks. But the tears were not for Elizonam. They were for herself. She was tired. She was ashamed. That night, Elizonam didn't eat. He cried quietly in his corner. He didn't know what he had done wrong. All he wanted was a little love, just one kind word. The next morning, when Elizonum woke up, the room was silent. Too silent. His mother was gone. He waited all day. No food, no water, no knock on the door. Nobody came. She didn't return that night either, or the next. 3 days passed. Elizonum was weak. He crawled to the door and knocked. Nobody answered. He called, "Mummy, please," but only his voice answered him. On the 4th day, something happened. A girl from the compound, Chica, was walking past and heard something from the window. A soft, shaking voice. A song. Beautiful, but sad. She stopped and listened. She had heard that voice before, many times, for years, but nobody knew where it came from. Chica decided to look. She peeped through the broken part of the window and saw Elizonum lying on the floor, his lips dry, his body weak, and his eyes half closed. She screamed, "Mummy! Mummy! There's a boy in that room! He's sick! He needs help!" People rushed to the house. The door was forced open. They found Elizonum inside, alone, dirty, starving. The secret was out. Sandra had truly hidden her son for 10 whole years. One of the people who heard the noise and came to the scene was a man named Mr. Tony. He was a local music producer who had come to visit his sister in the compound. When he heard Elizonum's voice, he felt something deep in his heart. He pushed through the crowd and entered the room. He saw the boy. He knelt beside him and said gently, "Sing for me." Elizonum opened his eyes. He was scared. But something in Mr. Tony's voice was kind. He opened his mouth and began to sing. Just a few lines. Just one small song. Mr. Tony removed his glasses. His eyes were wet. "This boy," he said, "has the voice of an angel." He stood up and shouted, "We can't leave him here. I'll take him with me." People were shocked. Mr. Tony carried Elizonum in his arms. He took him to the hospital, paid the bills, cleaned him up, bought him clothes, fed him good food. For the first time in his life, Elizonum saw sunlight. He asked quietly, "Is this what outside looks like?" Mr. Tony smiled. "Yes, my boy. And from now on, the world will see you." That night, Elizonum slept on a clean bed. He looked at the stars through the window and whispered to himself, "Maybe, just maybe, my life is not over." And from that moment, a new journey began. The journey of a hidden child who would soon become Starboy. The first night Elizonum spent in Mr. Tony's house was like a dream. He couldn't sleep at first. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. He had never felt a bedsheet before. He touched everything: the pillow, the chair, the curtain, even the smooth floor. For 10 years his world had been just a small, dark room. Now he was in a different world. Mr. Tony's house wasn't very big, but it was neat and warm. The walls were painted cream. There were family photos on the wall and flower pots by the window. There was even a small piano in the corner of the living room. The next morning, Elizonum woke up to the smell of food. Real food. Not cold Gary or stale bread. He sat up slowly and looked around. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel fear in his heart. "Good morning, champ," Mr. Tony said, walking into the room with a wide smile. Elizonum smiled too, shyly. "Good morning, sir." "Call me Uncle Tony. Everyone does," he said, placing a plate of rice and stew in front of him. "Eat slowly. There's more." Elizonum held the spoon carefully. He hadn't used one in a long time. He took the first bite and closed his eyes. "This is so sweet," he whispered. Uncle Tony laughed. "You'll eat sweeter things, my boy. You just wait." Over the next few weeks, Elizonum's life began to change. He went to the hospital for a full checkup. The doctors said his legs were badly damaged and he would never be able to walk without surgery, and even that wasn't guaranteed. But Elizonim wasn't sad. He was just happy to be alive, free, and loved. Uncle Tony bought him a wheelchair. At first, Elizonim found it strange, but soon he got used to it. He could move around the house by himself. He would sit by the window every morning and watch people go to work, children play, cars pass. He was finally seeing the world. One Sunday afternoon, Uncle Tony brought a surprise. "I got you something," he said, wheeling a small keyboard into the room. Elizonim's eyes widened. "A piano?" "Yes," Uncle Tony said. "You like music, don't you?" Elizonim nodded quickly. "I love it. I used to hear it through the window when I was alone." "Now," Uncle Tony said, "you can make your own." From that day, they started music lessons. Uncle Tony showed him how to play simple notes, how to follow a rhythm, how to sing with confidence. Elizonim was a fast learner. Within a month, he could play full songs and sing along with them. Every evening, the house would be filled with his voice. The neighbors started gathering by the window just to hear him sing. They didn't care that he was in a wheelchair. They didn't care about his past. His voice made them forget all of that. One day, Uncle Tony recorded Elizonim singing a song he had written himself. It was called "Still Here." It was about pain, loneliness, hope, and strength. He posted the video online without showing Elizonim's face. The video went viral. In just 3 days, it got over 1 million views. People flooded the comment section. "This voice touched my soul. Who is this boy? I cried listening to this. Thank you, whoever you are." Uncle Tony showed the comments to Elizonim. The boy couldn't believe it. "People love my voice?" he asked, tears in his eyes. "They love your heart, Elizonim," Uncle Tony replied, "and your voice shows it." From that day, Uncle Tony gave him a name. Star Boy. You shine, my boy. You shine in the dark. That's what stars do. Soon Elizonim started making more songs. Uncle Tony built a small studio in one of the rooms. He brought other musicians and sound engineers to help him. Everyone who met Elizonim was touched by his humility and talent. But Uncle Tony gave him one rule. No showing your face for now. "Why?" Elizonim asked. "Because I want people to love your music first," he explained. "When the time comes, we'll show them the person behind the voice. And trust me, they'll love you even more." Elizonim agreed. He began doing online shows, just his voice, a background light, and his keyboard. People from all over Nigeria, and even outside the country, tuned in. TV stations started talking about the mysterious Star Boy. Radio stations played his songs every day. A record label offered to sign him, but Uncle Tony said no. "Not yet. He's not a product. He's a person. We'll grow this our way." During all this time, Madame Sandra had no idea her son was alive, let alone famous. She had moved to another town, working in a small restaurant. She told everyone she had no children. But one afternoon, while cleaning plates and sweeping the floor, she heard a song playing on a customer's phone. It was "Still Here." The voice froze her in place. She knew that voice. That soft, emotional voice. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." She rushed to the customer and asked, "Who is singing that song?" The man smiled. "It's Star Boy. He's blowing everywhere now. They say he was hidden for years. His story is deep." Sandra sat down, shaking. She knew. Deep in her heart, she knew. The voice she rejected, the boy she left, he was now a star. That night she went online. She watched every video, read every comment. Her eyes were full of tears, but not tears of joy, tears of guilt. She had walked away from the child who needed her most. Meanwhile, back in Enugu, Uncle Tony was planning a big live event, a real concert. The first time Star Boy would appear in public. Elizonim was nervous. Will people accept me? They already do, Uncle Tony said, and when they see you, they'll love you even more. On the day of the event, the hall was filled with over 5,000 people. The lights were bright. The air was buzzing. Everyone waited to see who the mysterious Starboy was. Elizonum was in the back room, dressed in a fine black outfit. His wheelchair had golden rims. His hair was neatly braided. He had never felt more confident. Uncle Tony bent beside him and held his hand. You were hidden in the dark for 10 years. But now the world is ready for your light. Go and shine, Starboy. The music began. Elizonum rolled onto the stage, microphone in hand. The crowd went silent. When he began to sing, the whole hall shook. People cried. Some held their chest. Some screamed. And when he finished the song, the lights went off for a moment, then came back on, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation that lasted for more than 5 minutes. The secret was out. Starboy was real. Starboy was different. Starboy was unstoppable.